it's Scott. I want to go ahead and touch on a quick review of trachs. I can only speak from my personal experience, but years back when I was in nursing school, I had seemingly about 4 minutes of education when it came to trachs. And many medics and nurses that I've worked with over the years, if they're honest, are scared to death of trachs. So I sat down with one of our transport respiratory therapists, and he taught me 2 incredibly cool tiny trach tips. So with that in mind, the first of which is when it comes to trachs, whether it's a baby trach or a big person trach, the key is you have to figure out what size trach is it. So how do you actually figure out what size trach does somebody have in? Well, outside of looking at the charts, what you do is, whether it's a kid or an adult, remember you just look at the flange, meaning that flat part right here that sits on the side of their neck. And why that's important is it may have 1, 2, or even 3 different sets of numbers. That's too much to remember. He's like, here's all you really need to remember in a pinch is look for the one that says ID, meaning inner diameter. And why that's important is you want air to go in and out. And with few exceptions, what it lists as ID is also the size of the trach. So with that in mind, on this big person trach, you'll notice that it says ID 7.5, meaning that it's a 7.5 adult trach. And on the little baby trach, it says ID 4.0, meaning it's a size 4 trach. So with that in mind, if, especially on the little kid's side, if a kid has a trach and it falls out, hopefully if the family or caregiver is there, if they have some sort of a go bag, whereas they have their replacement trach inside of there, fabulous, because chances are the one that's in the bag is the one you want to use. However, if the trach falls out, they don't have a go bag, and you need to figure out what size trach. Just simply take a look at the side of the trach. ID, in the majority of cases, will tell you that's the size of the trach to put back in. Now, take that one step further, and that's the trach is in. Now you want to suck out the boogers. Remember that if you have an endotracheal tube, that whatever size tube you have in across the lifespan, just double it. And that's the suction catheter that's going to fit down that tube. So if you take your crash cart, you rip open the top drawer, you find 5, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18 gang car. Whether it's an endotracheal tube or a trach, how do you figure out what size fits down the tube of the trach? Remember, it is 2 times the size of the tube. Or in this case, 2 times the size of the trach. So with that in mind, as a handy dandy rule, remember ID 7.5. So if you double it, that's 15. They don't make a 15 suction. So what's close is a 14. And you'll notice that happily a size 14 fits really well down the adult trach. Or on the little kid trach, remember ID 4.0. So if you double it, 4 times 2 hopefully is 8. And if you take a 6 or an 8 French suction, you'll find that it happily slides right down your baby trach. So when it comes to trach, read the outside. ID, air in and out. That's the size, in most cases, of the trach. And whatever trach they've got in, just like tubes, just double it. And that's the suction catheter that's going to fit.